I guess what's the first 4 days been like with getting guys back on the field and getting a chance to see them in action for the first time?
Man, I'll tell you what, it's been absolutely fun. I mean, it's fun to be around the guys, and they're doing a great job in the classroom, first of all, of communicating and being one, and then it's carrying over to the field. I mean, you see a lot of communicating with them, you see a lot of bonding, you see a lot of coaching going on. So it's been really fun to be around the guys on the grass and share this thing with Zac and us doing together, man. I'm looking forward to the remainder of spring and looking forward to the season with the chemistry that we have in that room.
How important is that classroom work when you're trying to mesh everything together, learn new systems, got a bunch of new guys? How important is that classroom?
Oh, it's really important because, like I shared with them, we defend the second most precious thing in the game. O-line got to defend the quarterback, and we got to defend the goal line. If anything get behind us on the ground in the air, that could be the game, it could be the season, it could be somebody's career. And so to have that chemistry, have that bond, to be on one page, I mean, it's dynamic. It's very, very important, and that's one of the critical things of why we meet together a lot, because we have to be on the same page. The communication between the corner, the safety, and the nickel has to start in the meeting room. It cannot be the first time they're on the grass they hear each other's voice, and then that's where the bonding starts. So it's really critical to the success of any team, in particular defense.
Wesley, do you feel like your group, secondary in general, is taking on a leadership role in terms of, there's a lot of positions that I think you're trying to figure it out. Your group's got a lot of guys back. Do you feel like maybe they're further along just in terms of maturity and out there practicing and sort of setting the tone, things like that?
Yeah, I really think this is a very mature group. And one of the things that you look at is the questions they ask. And you can tell they're saying, hey, coach, I want to be coach. And also questions say, hey, I've been down this road before. And so they're experienced. And the thing that you really appreciate about an experienced bunch is that when you tell them something, they go out and try to execute it that way. And so you can exceed experience in that. And the other biggest thing that stands out is that leadership piece. I mean, you can see the veterans now talking to some of the younger guys, explaining to them. Sometimes coaches that we make a mistake and kind of talk over their head a little bit, and they can kind of break it down and say, he's really saying this right here. So you see the leadership, among those guys, man, like, Keontae Scott. I mean, you can see him coaching those guys up. Nehemiah Pritchett, he putting his arm around Kane and Lee and coaching them up. So that speaks to a lot of leadership and also speaks to the bonding. So that's really good to see.
You mentioned Keontae, a guy that's been here 1 year. What do you see out of him on and off the field? Because he's a guy that has those dynamic qualities that you kind of look for on the field. But how have you seen him progress?
Well, my timeline has been very brief, but I see a dynamic player. I see a guy that can impact the game. I see a guy that has the tools to play at a high level. I see a guy that loves football. I mean, when he come to work, I call it to work because it's what they do, When he come to work every day, I mean, he's prepared. He's got his notebook, got something to write with, something to write on. I mean, he's a serious-minded individual, and he gets on the grass, and you can see his performance. I think yesterday was probably his best day of work since spring ball started. Coach Etheridge looked at me one time and said, hey, cool him off. I said, man, I don't have water to cool this dude off, man. But he was locking him up yesterday, and it was fun to see. And the best thing from that, you see his teammates, man, just high-fiving, head slapping him. So that guy can really impact the game. So we just got to keep him training and let him play.
Crime, obviously, you weren't with them last season, but for you to come into a room where two guys who could have been drafted in Nehemiah and DJ are back, I guess, how excited are you to continue to develop them, but also kind of the boost that gives you to already have that kind of talent in your room at the top?
Well, I think that alone it really speaks to what they think about the new head coach, Coach Freeze, and what they think about Coach Etheridge. I had nothing to do with them coming back, although I know Nehemiah Pritchett and I had some conversation with him. But I think they was really excited that Zac was coming back and excited about Coach Freeze, and then of course excited about me joining him. So, but it's really good to have two veterans, particularly at the corner in this league, because as you know, everybody can throw and catch. And so I'm excited to have an opportunity to coach these guys and see them play well at this level, but also, help those guys improve their draft stock. That's one thing I always pride myself in is how much better can I make a player both on and off the field. And you want to impact their lives. And I'll tell you the thing that I got a big relief for when I arrived to work that day, and I don't know when it was, when it hit me that it wasn't about me. And that ego left, that self, it left, and you realize man, it's about everybody in that building. Can you help these guys become better? Can you help the coordinator be a better coordinator? Can you help the head coach become a better head coach? And I get joy every day out of coming to this building, knowing I have an opportunity to impact these young men's lives. I have an opportunity to come in and help Coach Roberts have a better defense and to help Coach Freeze advance this program. And I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to serve, and it's been gratifying to be in this position. And I'm glad I'm at the point where I realize it's not about me, because I think you do things a lot better. You coach better, you walk better, you talk better. I think you even eat better. So I'm excited about that.
You've been around staffs, you've moved around. When we hear coaches and players talk about the bond and chemistry in these walls, how does it feel from the inside?
Well, I tell you, the biggest thing is that, although you move around a lot of different places like you just mentioned, when you come in between the walls and you realize that you have a lot of guys in the building that share the same background, that share the same goals, the same seriousness about being better and about being a champion, then that's an immediate bond. And that's what you witness if you was a fly on the wall in the building, particularly during our meeting sessions and particularly in conversations. Like now, there's a handful of guys upstairs that came in and watched the tape on their own. They sense that. And when you sense that there's another man that has the same vision, has the same taste, desire that you have, that bond, it grows immediately. And that's what you see behind the walls right now at Auburn, is that you got a bunch of guys with the same goals in mind, and these guys are really bonding. And like I told them this morning in a meeting, I said, hey, you got to understand this now. Players win games now. Coaches, we try not to lose them. So y'all got to play and problem solve and go win games. And that's what you have to do, especially when you got veteran guys in the building like that.
Wesley, what do you think about Zac Etheridge? What's he like as an assistant coach, recruiter, just a young guy sort of coming up, maybe following in your footsteps?
Let me get his bio and read it to you right quick. No, but I tell you what, Zac is going to be an outstanding football coach. We refer to him as a young coach, but that guy has a lot of wisdom. It's been fun to be around him, and just to be in the same room with him, watching tape, and we do a lot of things together. And you would just be surprised if you was in a meeting with him, his football IQ. I hear people always refer to him about recruiting. He does a great job in recruiting, but that young man is also a great football coach. And, I'm closer to the end than I am beginning. So I'm excited about going on this ride with him, but I'm more excited about watching his career down the road, watching where he's going to go. So, keep an eye on him now. He's going to be a rock star. He's going to be a household name because, one, he's smart, he's passionate, he cares about the players, he's good with people, he's very articulate. He's been blessed with a lot of qualities that not only going to make him a good football coach, but a great person. And I'm telling you, his career is definitely going to take off, and Auburn's blessed to have him in the building. And I'm blessed to be around him. I know I've been doing it a long time, but when you have an opportunity to do it with a young man like that, then, chalk it up, because it's fun.
As a staff, how do you feel about you guys as a recruiter, especially having a guy like you, Freeze, who takes such a personal involvement into recruiting?
I tell you what, now he's one of the best I've been around. Of course, this is my third time working with him. He's one of the best I've been around in terms of recruiting. It's definitely 24 hours a day with him. And the thing that you really appreciate about him as an assistant coach, and having him as your head coach, is that you can get him on the phone with a recruit any time of the day. It's not where you got to set an appointment, or it's not where, hey, I'm going to take phone calls from 12 to 4, and then if coach goes a couple of hours and don't talk to the recruiter on the phone, he's coming down that hallway. Hey, anybody got anybody on the phone? So it's fun, and it's refreshing to see a head coach that has a demeanor in recruiting like an assistant coach. He gets out there, and he's one of the few head coaches I've been around. He just about knows everybody's name on the board. And he's talking to not just one guy daily, he talks to multiple guys daily. And so what that does too, it helps us stay on top of our game. But he's dynamic in recruiting. He loves it. He's a tremendous people's person, and you're going to see it pay dividends. With this staff and the way we're recruiting, it doesn't feel like work because we enjoy what we're doing. And, when we get a guy on the phone, it's like having a party. So it's good to be around a head coach that's very accessible in recruiting, doesn't have a schedule in terms of when you talk to players or talk to them anytime. If you pay attention to him at practice, you're going to talk to him and do in practice. So it's 24 hours a day where he'll talk with a kid. And as an assistant coach, that helps us because these are the young men that have lives, and you can't get them on the phone all the time. So when you get them on the phone, And if the head coach has a schedule, you're terrified that I got this young man on the phone, but I can't get him on the phone with the head coach. Well, with Coach Freeze, you can approach him any time of the day. If he's not in a meeting, and you'll get him on the phone with a prospect.
How valuable is that from the prospect side to have a head coach that's that involved in it?
Oh, it's genuine. It's very valuable because they can see and feel his genuineness. I mean, it's not. I just think when you have to schedule things, I mean, are you really being genuine? Are you doing it because the calendar says that? Are you doing it because that's what you're supposed to do? But because Freeze, you don't have to schedule it, and I think the players can see that it's really genuine. When he's on the phone with him and talking to him, and nothing's scripted. And that's what you like about being around that type of head coach that recruits like an assistant coach, if you will.
You mentioned the experience and everything you have, the number of guys you have back, and you also mentioned Kane a little while ago. Who are some of the young guys that are sort of catching your eye here and trying to push for playing time?
Well, the biggest one, of course, I'm gonna be a little bit selfish and mention my position, of course, but Kane Lee is doing a great job. I mean, you got to think now, this guy's supposed to be getting ready to go to the prom, but he's in spring ball, making plays. The thing that's most impressive about him, we know he has the physical tools, but just off the field. I mean, he will not leave the building if he doesn't understand the coverage. I mean, he'll knock on the door and say, "Hey, coach, I don't understand this coverage." And the first thing I do, I look to see if they have something to write written or something to write on. And he has his notebook, and as soon as he sits down, he pulls it out and taking notes. But he wants to be great. I mean, he has the attitude and demeanor where he wants to be great. And you can see it transfer over to the field. So I'm excited about his progression. He's making plays. He's got a lot of confidence. The biggest thing about a young man like that is don't put too much on his plate and make sure you coach his confidence up. But he's doing great. I'm excited about him. He will have an impact on this football team and this program.
Wesley, what receivers are giving you guys the most trouble right now?
None of them. We covered them all. I mean, we covered them all. So I mean, Coach Davis right there and Coach Freeze, they're probably looking for me right now as we speak. But we got some receivers over there, and I don't want to get ahead of those guys on that side of the ball. But we do have some that we're saying, hey, this guy can blow the top off the coverage. So we have to keep an eye on them and make sure that we know where they are. I mean, we got, and of course, we got a couple that got tremendous length. But I think as a group, we're having a good time covering them, but it's not easy. And so I think we're enjoying it and we're appreciating each other. But that whole group over there, and I'll let Coach Davis answer that question for you, but the whole group over there is doing good. And those Qs are throwing some balls in some spots where we can't get them. So it's been fun.
Coach Davis, do you see some similarities between him and Zac?
Well, two different individuals. But one similarity, both of them love Auburn. And that's the biggest thing that you see. And the other similarities that, both of them, I'm referring to them as fairly young because of my age, because I'm the old guy. And, both of them have a good football IQ. Both of them are passionate, and both of them, they're going to be strong no matter what they're doing, whether it's recruiting, whether it's meet one-on-one with a kid, whether it's coaching football. Both of those guys have a knack for it. This thing, you have to find your niche. And I think both of those young men have the it factor. And I'm just telling you, their career is definitely going to take off, and they're going to have an impact on these young men in this building.
Nehemiah's a guy that's been around here for a long time. I mean, he's known for being pretty quiet. Have you seen him kind of try to take on more of a leadership role as being one of those older guys?
You have different type of qualities in players, and Nehemiah's never going to be the guy that's going to talk a lot, but he leads by performance. And you can see him in meetings every now and then. He'll lean over and say something to another player. But, he's just not a vocal guy. But he plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. And at the appropriate time, now Nehemiah will speak up, so don't let him fool you. But he's just not one of those rah-rah guys. And you're just knowing him when he was a true freshman and seeing him now. You can see the development. But in terms of him talking a lot, I don't think we'll ever witness that.
What are some early goals for you guys in terms of in the secondary? I know Freeze has talked about not putting too much on their plate right now, not trying to overload them with install and kind of focus on the basics. Is that where you guys in the secondary are right now? It's day 5, I think, of practice.
We got 3 goals: win, win, and win. Because in this league here, if you don't win, you know what happens. But seriously, our biggest goal going into spring practice is one is keep the ball in front of us and take it away. If you can take away the vertical game and stop the deep ball, and get the ball in your hands when it's not intended for you, you got an opportunity to be successful in this league. The second biggest thing we talk about is minimize and eliminate mental mistakes. You can play this game with less mental mistakes, you're going to come out on top. And one of the last goals that we talked about, we have plenty more, but these are big, is make adjustments during the game. Is that the players have to problem solve. And because we can go on the grass and we can show them in the classroom what it should look like, but of course there's going to be some different wrinkles that we can't show them. And so they're going to have to problem solve during the game. And what that leads to is just communication, being on the same page and having confidence. And we want to make sure we're gauging their confidence every day, because if they're very confident as a unit, as an individual, then we'll play at a high level. So those are some of the things that we want to make certain that we have in place. Is make sure that we're keeping the top on the coverage, and taking the ball away, when it's not intended for us, and making sure that we just minimize the mental mistakes. That's what Coach Freeze is talking about. Don't give them too much to do. Let them play football. If we can do those things and play with confidence, we'll play at a high level.
What's it been like to get settled back in at home?
Well, the beautiful thing about it is I didn't have to get settled back in. I walked right back into my home. So it's good to be back home. In this profession you move a lot, but it's been one transition where I didn't have to make a lot of adjustments. You kind of know where everything's at, and you walk back into your house, and it's a blessing. It's definitely a blessing.
What do you think brings you back to Auburn the most? 3 times now. What is it about Auburn that brings you back the most?
Oh, I'm never leaving. I mean, I just went to coach somewhere else, but I never left Auburn. Because we kept the house here, and this is home. Now, did I ever think that I would come back here to coach? I was hopeful for that, but man, when you have an opportunity to come to a place like Auburn, you get that phone call. It's a very short conversation. Look at the town, the location, the league. It's only one thing that I would say is bad about Auburn. It's hard to find bad food. Your weight just goes up. The people are phenomenal, man. So, we love this place, man. So, like I said, it's hard to say no. And it's one of them places that, you dream of coaching, but to have an opportunity to do it 3 times, man, don't wake me up.